You've been down. You actually drove down to the city just to shovel.
Just to
man,
shovel. Me,
you're
Patty,
you're my hero, man.
Absolutely, man. You know what? I guess, she has this in her. You know what? It may not be a lot, but it means a lot to other people. And for us to come down and just be a part of it.
On social too, she went out and said, "Hey, the Thomas Family Foundation's putting out. Let's make donations. You can give it to us. We're going to give it to the people who need it in the city." Yeah. And you got like 50,000 people. $50,000.
$50,000. Yeah. So
bless their heart.
We'll see where that money will go, but it's still kind of early. We're getting the rain this week, and now it might be flooding. So
every little bit helps, though.
Every little bit helps. Exactly right.
Are you on board with the Blizzard of 22 moniker, or do we need to name it something else, like the Christmas Blizzard or something like that?
I think we need to name it something else.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Blizzard of 22 doesn't sound that good.
I don't know. Blizzard is a blizzard.
It is, too. It's a bad one. We got this game. I don't know if you heard, the Bills are playing the Bengals Monday night.
Yeah, I have heard about that.
And it is shaping up to be gigantonormous. I mean, this is... If it's really something, because this is a team the Bengals are really good.
Yeah.
The Bills in a lot of are better statistically and compared to around the league, but the Bills are going to be on the road, and these two teams are pretty close.
Yeah.
And they're at the top of the conference.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be fun to watch, and these two, like you said, they're at the top, and you look at Burrow and you look at Allen. I mean, they've already beat Mahomes this year. Yeah. So, I mean, both of those guys have. And so it's time for one of these guys here to lead one of their teams. I mean, obviously, we would love to have home field advantage. And this would be, to me, Monday night, playoff start.
Yeah, I agree with that. I said that earlier.
Oh, did you? Yeah. I think the playoff start, that's your mindset going into the game. I think we'll be relatively healthy going into this football game. And
Mitch Morse is back on the field.
Mitch Morse is back on the field. So, it's a game of the year for me. And I don't think whether it's going to be good or bad, I think you're going to see two really quality football teams out there trying to win this, trying to get the number one seed. And remember this, Perini and Mixon. Cincinnati loves to run the ball.
Yeah.
They love to run the ball. And so our running game has gotten a little bit better over the past 3-4 weeks. So, it could be one of those games where we're running just to keep that other team off. If I get 10 possessions, I hope they only get 7.
Right. Yeah, that's what you got to do. This is, the Bills have not won. This is 6th straight they've won. They haven't won 7 straight since 1990 when we won 8 in a row.
Oh, really?
I say we.
You can say we.
Yeah, you can. Hey, I'm willing to check that right off too.
The Bengals are 3-0 against the AFC East. The Bengals swept the division this year up until this game. We'll see. The Bengals have only 17 giveaways on the season. That's tied for 6th fewest in the NFL. So they don't give it away a ton.
No.
They're converting 47% of the third downs this season. That's top 5 in the NFL, behind the Bills, Chiefs, and Eagles. So the Bengals are right there with all 3 of those teams.
All 3 of them.
But here's the thing. They've only got 26 sacks this season. That's 4th fewest in the league. They don't pressure the quarterback very much.
Right.
And they have that magic number of 20 points. They're 11-1 this season when they score 20 or more points, but they're 0-3 when they score fewer than 20. So
my thing.
Threshold.
In this game, Joe Burrow, I think the biggest difference between Joe Burrow and Josh Allen is their escapability. Joe Burrow, when he gets pressured, he has one of the higher pressure to sack rates in the NFL, 24%. Josh Allen's only 14%. So Josh Allen, we know, can get out of trouble. Joe Burrow is actually very close to Mac Jones in terms of his mobility. They're very similar. So I think that in the trenches, the difference between these two quarterbacks could ultimately be what determines this game.
Yeah. I think so. I mean, you look at both of them, if we get a pass rush,
that's huge in this game.
It's huge in this game, right? Yeah, it's huge in this game. And, those guys have been well in the last couple of weeks without Vaughn. But they need to keep that same intensity, But since Cincinnati doesn't get home as much, they don't blitz a lot.
No.
Will this be an opportunity for us now to see the deep ball again?
Maybe. I mean, it's going to be warm enough.
It's going to be warm enough, but we haven't seen the long ball here since week 6, maybe?
Right.
So
it's been a while.
So maybe this is an opportunity to say, okay, give me a little extra time. They can't get here. If they rush 4, they really can't get here. The numbers say it. So give me a little extra time. Give me a couple extra seconds to maybe see if I can get Gabe or Steph
I'll
or
say
whoever
this
downfield.
about Joe Burrow, and you made the comparison to Mac Jones. Joe's different than Mac Jones because Burrow stays in the pocket deliberately and delivers the ball. Plus, one reason, or there's a couple of reasons. One reason, big reason, is because he's got 3 guys out there. Somebody's going to open. He throws it up. Somebody's going to catch it.
Yeah.
And he is almost, and they call him Joe Cool, but you really got to tip your hat to him. He's a really good quarterback at a young age.
Yeah.
He throws it away with the nonchalance of, throwing a tin can into a recycling bin. He don't care. He throws it away.
Yeah.
He just, I get you next down. He does not care. So he hangs in the pocket. He doesn't run very much.
No.
But he wins from the pocket. And that's what the NFL looks like. A guy who stands in the pocket and wins.
Comparatively, when you pressure Patrick Mahomes, it's hard to get him to the turf. We've seen that in the playoffs with the Bills where say last year, Jerry Hughes is close, but just couldn't get there, makes a play. Joe Burrow's not going to do that nearly as much. He's an elite quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, but if the Bills can contain him kind of within the confines of the pocket, get some pressure around the edges, you're more likely to take him to the turf than you are a Patrick Mahomes or even a Justin Herbert.
Yeah, right. I think with those, like you said, with those 3 receivers, any one of them can control the game.
Yeah, they can.
Any one of them control, and he has 3 of them. And with a running game and the way they've been able to move the ball up and down the field, it's
the Bills got Christian Benford off the IR this week. He's got a 21-day window to come in, start practicing and all that. Now he hasn't been out there, but he's not that far removed. He's been out a month, 4 games.
Right.
But it was a hand injury, so he's been running, lifting, all that stuff. I wonder how fast he could get the rust off to come in and be part of the rotation.
Well, these 3 guys will loosen them up.
Right. So, you got Christian Benford and Kyer Elam and Tre'Davious White, and then, of course, Dane Jackson. Now, of the 4, Dane Jackson's the one that's, not as big.
Right.
Kyer's big, and so is Christian Benford's not only big, he's thick. So that's kind of a matchup with the big-time receivers that Cincinnati brings on the table. I don't know that Benford's going to be ready to come back. But that's kind of what you're looking at. You'd like those big physical receivers who can go up and maybe battle for those 50-50 balls.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. And we haven't even really talked about, how they match up with our wide receivers.
Yep. Right.
I think from what I've seen over the year, and the interesting thing I heard, was it Coach Zach Taylor? Mm-hmm. He said that, we've seen Buffalo a lot this year just because of the common opponents that we played.
True. Right.
So, they've, this game plan, it's a game plan, but it's like, you remember when they played Pittsburgh and they did this?
Yeah.
So you don't have to really study them as much, but I think it's really going to come down to, can we get Steph Diggs involved early and often? Right. Cole Beasley might be that guy, and if we get a chance to go deep, Gabe Davis. You look at Gabe this year, he's kind of struggled a little bit, but not terribly struggled. But, maybe this is a game for him to, really get back on because we're going to go into the playoffs. And that's where he shined the most.
I'm wondering about the vertical passing game and what has come from the Bills' recent kind of dominance on the ground. And you being a former running back, one of 17 living Hall of Fame running backs, I got to ask you, what have you seen differently in the Bills running game over the last 4 to 6 weeks, or really during this 6-game running streak from James Cook and Devin Singletary, and just the blocking and the scheme up front?
I think the blocking scheme has been forget all this pulling or whatever. Let's just block man on man.
Man on man.
Man on man.
I've seen that too.
And let these guys have an opportunity to choose the A gap, the B gap, or the C gap, and not just so much going like the jet sweep all the time where you don't get a chance to see that. So, and I think I see more confidence in James Cook than I've seen all season long. These 2 guys complement each other very, very well. I would like to see James a little bit more involved in the passing game because I think he has those qualities and those skills. So, but I tell you what, them guys doing this, it takes so much pressure off of Josh. It takes a lot of pressure off the Josh where he don't have to be able to. But Josh is going to be Josh. Yeah, if he's still running lane, he's going to take it. But having the threat of a running game and not those four guys just teeing off on the offensive line because they know that they're going to throw it. Now they have to watch this. I was just so glad that they ran like the draw play. I mean, bringing that back, man, letting the defensive end and go upfield, and it's pretty much you and the linebacker and the guards one-on-one. I mean, that's, we haven't seen that in a long time. But, the running game needs to go because, like I said earlier, you want to keep them off the field as much as possible too.
Yeah, and I'll give you some insight as to, and statistically, you talk about their run. We always thought, hey, with Joe Mixon and P. Ryan, they run the ball pretty good, right? Well, the Bills in rushing average, rushing yards a game, the Bills are 8th. Cincinnati's 26.
Okay.
Rushing yards per carry, the Bills are number 1. And Cincinnati is 28.
Well, they got two grinders.
Yeah. They're going to grind out 4 or 5 yards.
Yeah, Mixon is 225. Perini is 235. Both of them went to University of Oklahoma.
And we got a quarterback who carries it.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. And Josh has been doing this for the last couple of years. I mean, can their linebackers match up with him and if he scrambles?
No linebacker.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Nobody does.
They'll do some stuff. They'll do some stuff. They'll spy him and they'll do all of that stuff. But Josh outruns a number of spies that they've tried. He outruns those guys.
Yeah, eventually it'll break down.
Yeah,
eventually it may not be the first quarter, but it would eventually break down.
Josh, the thing that makes the Bills so hard to defend and beat is the fact that Josh can throw the ball, and he's throw the ball, he can do it from the pocket and all that, but on a handful or less of plays during the game when it's like, if it's third and, I'll give you a perfect example. The Miami game, they got the Bills 3rd and 17, and Josh guns a rifle shot right down between the hashes, and Gabe Davis is, boom, 21 yards. Yeah. And it's like 21 yards away, and it's like zip. Or it's 3rd and 14, Josh pulls it down and runs for 16.
Yeah.
You just can't get him off the field.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's really tough to spy him and then play man coverage. You can't play man coverage against the Bills. He'll just do a quarterback draw, and it's like it's worthless. It's worthless. Yeah. And so everybody says, well, you got to take your quarterback runs out. No.
No. It's got to be part of the game.
I'll say this.
He has some running back packages, but mostly it's on him.
When you get into a game like this, this is when all the quarterback run scheme, that's all on the table in this game. You got to win.
Yeah, you got to win.
You got to win.
Everything that they've seen.
They're not going to say, you know what, we don't want to run him this week.
Yeah, right.
This week it's like, listen, that first short yardage is going to be student body left. Tuck it up and go.
Exactly. Now said last week or a week before that the Bills are going to have over 100 yards rusher guy in a game. Josh might be that guy this week.
Yeah,
he could be.
He could be that guy this week.
I'm okay with that. You got to win the game.
I'm okay with that if that's what they want. But just Josh as a quarterback and as a franchise, as an MVP candidate, get your butt out of bounds and get down.
Yeah. But I do think that the improvement in the running game, the traditional running game with James Cook and Devin Singletary, it makes it that much more difficult to defend the Bills. I think part of the reason why Josh Allen had that little slump in the middle of the season, early on, teams were not really respecting the run. And like Thurman said, they could pin their ears back as a pass rushing unit. Yeah. The Bills were in these obvious passing situations very often. But now when you face the Bills, when the Bengals are game planning right now in Cincinnati, it's, hey, we can't just play 2 deep safety and have 7 in the box because James Cook can hit you for a 15-yard run, Devin Singletary. So I think the Bills are gelling offensively at the perfect time of the season.
Yeah, it may not be what it was at the beginning of the season when it was, I was trying to leave every game mid-third quarter. The game was over, right? Yeah. It's not that offense there, but hopefully we'll be able to see that offense come back. But right now, they're in every game this year. They've been in every single game this year. They've been favored in every single game this year. Yeah. So it's a real good football team who can play either way. Either way, 17-13 or 35-33.
We've said this along too. Now, the Bills, and certainly you're a good team when you beat the Bears by 22 and people are like going, I don't know, it didn't look all that good. Yeah, right?
Right.
And there's another, and the Packers, you beat them by 10. The Browns, you win by 8. The Detroit Lions, you had a late field goal. the Jets, you win 2012, and people and everybody can. All they talk about is style points. Well, you didn't look that great beating the Miami
22
Dolphins.
points in today's NFL. If you're winning the game by that much, you did something. You did a lot right in that game.
Our point's been this. You go back in throughout the season, the first two games, the Rams and the Titans, they hung 31 on the Rams and 41 on the Titans. They gave a total of 17 points on defense. I mean, they big play, passing game, everything. The Dolphins' loss was an absolute aberration because of the heat, and they lost by two. And they ran out of time to get that last field, right? They couldn't get the ball spotted.
They're good.
The Ravens, they grinded out in a rainstorm by 3 points. Pittsburgh, big plays. You know, they opened the game with a 98-yard bomb, and then they hit another 65-yard bomb. So they hit the big play. Then they had the games like the Kansas City, the grinder, the Packers. They run the ball in some of these things. Then they've won it every way you can possibly win. They have shown that their roster, if you have a weakness on your team, they will exploit it and beat you with it.
Yeah.
They have the flexibility to take advantage of any weakness you have.
Yeah, we talked about it early in the year about I think it was the one-score game, one-possession game.
Oh,
They were like, and whatever, and now look at them.
They're 6-3.
You're right, they're 6-3, right? I'm saying, yeah, so everybody was talking about that. So, hey, man, this team can win, with having McDermott, having Leslie Frazier there, like Ken Dorsey still kind of, feeling his way to this offense of how he still wants to do things. But I think the running game is helping him. Obviously, getting healthy and getting Mitch Morse back for this game is definitely important. But this team has it all. And the thing that I keep talking about and harping about is that, you know what? Everything this year has gone the Bills' way. When can we? It's been a long time since we've been able to say that.
Yeah.
Right. Everything is going their way, even despite all the injuries that they've had all season long. Things are going their way. That's that confidence that those guys have over there in the locker room, and it shows every single Sunday.
Yeah,
they're prepared as much as they possibly could be.
What I think is so fascinating about this game too, it's like the polar opposite of what we had like 10 days ago with the Dolphins. That there was so much nostalgia tied to that game from you guys in the 90s, how many big games you played in, AFC title games, playoff games. This Bills-Bengals rivalry is not really a thing. Like, you guys didn't really play them a lot in the 90s. As the Bengals were kind of falling off in the late 80s, that's when you guys had kind of your rise to prominence in the AFC. So for as familiar as the Bills and the Dolphins are together, the Bills and the Bengals, they haven't played a lot of big games against each other. So it's kind of an opportunity to kind of create their own story between these two teams that have been down for a while and now are the two of the elite teams in the NFL.
Yeah, and it's been amazing, too, to watch the crop of young quarterbacks come in. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Josh, and Mahomes, too. He's still, even though he's 6 year in, Josh is 5 now as time slips by.
All these AFC guys.
A lot of AFC guys come in and really have some success. Even now, Trevor Lawrence down in Jacksonville is going to play well. Games like this, where now Joe Burrow is established as an elite quarterback. You take a team to a Super Bowl.
People forget about that.
That's right.
They went to
they were in the Super Bowl last year.
Came down to the last play.
Yeah.
They can go.
Yeah.
And these kind of games, in a lot of ways, as much as a regular season game can be, they're kind of, for recent past and recent future, they're historic little games. You're going to think back to this game because it was an enormous game. All the pressure was on. How did you react?
Yeah.
Did you win? Did you lose? All of that stuff.
Yeah. It's almost like the AFC Championship Game in '88, right?
That's right.
We did like the Bengals.
Jim and Boomer.
Yeah, Jim and Boomer. Ickey Woods
and Thurman.
Right?
Yeah. Bruce and those guys.
Yeah, Anthony Munoz.
Yeah, Anthony Munoz. They had some guys.
Yeah, like you say, we haven't really played these guys a lot, and you know what? And they were good until the playoffs. Marvin Lewis did an excellent job there, but once it got to that playoff, they couldn't. I think he went to the playoffs 13 out of 15 times, and he lost in the first round every single year. So
with Andy Dalton.
And they haven't been able to build on that until now. And so, hey, this is a team that, in the next 5 or 6 years, this is a team that we're going to have to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we'll see. They got a long way to go. And let's talk a little bit about the other side. We talk about Joe Burrow and Josh. The other side of the football, this is the kind of game, and it's unfortunate, no question. You lost Micah Hyde early in the season and now Vaughn. this is the kind of game where this is exactly why you signed Von Miller.
Yeah.
And now they don't get a chance to take advantage of his.
No.
It's just a bummer.
It is a bummer. Yeah. I mean,
that's one thing that hasn't gone
right. Yeah. And I was reading some things about, how that relationship and how he got here with Josh, Texan, Barkley, and all this type of. And it's like, man,
listen, you're gonna play against Mac, Tua.
Right? Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to be here? Right? Come over here.
Yeah.
He's here. We obviously win the first game of the season against Rams, his old team, and you know what? When we were wanting to need a big play, in the first couple of games, he made some big plays. Yeah. And now not to have that, but I always say, with him hanging around here, him being still part of this organization, that means a lot to those guys up front. It means a lot to him that he's around here because he really doesn't have to be. He's won 2 Super Bowls. He can be somewhere doing rehab or getting surgery. Yeah, but he's like Micah Hyde, and those are the type of players that you want.
Both those guys were out there today.
See, that's what you want.
Micah and Von were on the field today watching their guys.
And since Von Miller went down, the obvious takeaway from that is, Gregory Rousseau stepping up, Boogie Basham, AJ Epinesa, veteran Shaq Lawson. This game in particular, like I mentioned earlier, that Joe Burrow's not going to move around a ton. They just lost their right tackle, La'el Collins, last week.
Yes.
Hakeem Adeniji played left tackle in college at Kansas, but has mostly been a guard. All of a sudden, he's plugged in at right tackle. Yeah. This really is the game for the depth behind Von Miller, these mostly younger edge rushers, to assert their will on a contest and exploit a weakness. The interior of the Bengals offensive line is pretty good. Yeah. Jonah Williams and now a backup right tackle, that's what you dream for if you're a young defensive end or just a edge rusher in general, to get a backup out there in a critical game.
Yeah, and you don't really, he doesn't move around very well, so you don't have to necessarily get sacks all the time. Mm-hmm. I would be fine if we got 2 or 3 sacks. Yeah. But make him feel uncomfortable back there, and I think we have the guys. We haven't even talked about Ed Oliver. Think about these guys up front. You push that pocket, make him feel uncomfortable, so you don't have to be an edge rusher to get all the way up the field. He might fall right there in your lap. Right. Because he's not moving around a lot.
Mm-hmm. Some of the stats and how the Cincinnati Bengals defense compares to where Buffalo's is statistically. The Bills are 7th in total yards per game allowed. Cincinnati's 13th. The Bills are passing yards per game. The Bills are 15th in the league. No. Bengals are 21st in the league allowed. Third down efficiency, the Bills are 11th. The Bengals are tied for 19th.
Wow.
Giving up third down conversions to their opponent. The Bills on, points per game, Buffalo is number 2 in the NFL. Cincinnati's 9.
Yeah.
They're not bad.
They're close. And we're talking about these numbers here for our defense, who were excellent last year. Mm-hmm. These numbers have fallen to a 5th and 6th, and that's still great in this league with what you have and what you're doing.
It's going to be a fantastic thing. Gabe, you're not going, right? You're
no, this definitely an at-home watch on the couch type of game.
I'm totally, completely with you on that.
Oh yeah. So
what do you got? I think that's going to be it. One of the key things about this game is the sack exchange, which means how many sacks do they get against us, and how many sacks do we get against them. I think it's heavily skewed statistically, and when you try and predict, heavily skewed in favor of Buffalo. Yeah. Big quarterback who likes to run, gets out of the pocket, hard to sack against a quarterback who is notoriously holds on to the ball because of the quality of his receivers, and he doesn't move around and run at all. And they've given up a ton of sacks. And they don't rush the passer well, even against somebody who's not as good as Josh.
Yeah.
That's someplace I think where you got to exploit.
Yeah, it's one of those games. If I can get 5 to 6 sacks,
you feel good.
You feel good, but that also means you're probably getting a lot of pressure too, making them feel
that's
uncomfortable.
True.
Yeah, I think that. And I think it has to be early. Mm-hmm. We got to let them guys know. We're coming to play today, and we're going to play the run because you want to do that, but we're also going to get after the passer because you're missing some guys up front.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks ago, they were down 17-0 to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers had a bunch of turnovers in that second half that were kind of uncharacteristic, but they got after Joe Burrow in that first half, took him to the turf, 3-step drop. The first read wasn't there. Looked a little bit uncomfortable. If the Bills can do that, disguise some coverages, I think that will be big at the start of this game.
And I'll say this, though, too. What you can see, even from a million miles away from Cincinnati Bengals like we are, I mean, right? You bang on Joe Burrow the first half and get him in trouble, and you go up by 20 points, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That guy, I don't think that guy's going to flinch.
No,
he's
not
going
at
to be
all.
the same guy coming out taking the first snap of the second half, and you're going to have to continue to do it for 60 minutes because that's just who that guy has proven himself to be and what a player he is.
I've watched over the past couple of years where we watch Cincinnati. I mean, first quarter, it could be 17 or 20 to nothing. And all of a sudden, you look at the final score, and he's won.
Yeah.
He won the game. That's why they call him Joe Cool.
Yeah.
That's why they call him Joe Cool, right?
He's a different cat, right? Yeah.
One other point that I think is important to stress, and it didn't come up so much last week against the Bears. The Bills' secondary linebackers, they have to tackle well in this game. Jamar Chase is one of the league's most dynamic yards after the catch guys. T. Higgins is a big body. He's not quite as twitchy as Jamar Chase, but he's hard to bring to the turf. Tyler Boyd is pretty slippery underneath. You're going to miss some tackles on defense, but if they do a better job than they have in October, November when things weren't as good, I think that will be key. I bet you Sean McDermott right now is preaching that during practice. Tackling well in space is huge.
Yeah. Got to tackle well.
In this game.
Best defense is tackle
and really, even with the guys that we have at linebacker, with Tremaine, Milano, I mean, they have to be able to bring down Perini, Mixon.
Yep.
Big. They have to be able to bring those guys out right away.
Thurman, thanks for being here, man. It's good seeing you
appreciate
again. I know it gave you a break from shoveling, so.
Yeah, probably going to go home and do it.
All right.